welcome to another one of my tutorials. Today I just wanted to show you how to prepare a character from Maya, uh, export as .fbx, bring it into Substance Painter, and do some textures. And so here, as you can see, if I open the hyper shading, you'll notice that I've created a bunch of different materials so that I can separate all of the different parts of the mesh that are going to get different textures. So I basically, in the hyper shading window here, I usually just go over here, hit tab, and in this case I type Lambert, creates a Lambert. I zoom in here, you can see what I did. And I just go in, pick a random color, doesn't matter what it is, it could be anything you want. And what that does is, and I'll name it something like temporary matte 01, right? And what that does is that creates an identification map. So basically I can now identify a specific part and I'm going to color code it. And that's just basically what I did. So I did that for all the different parts for the clown, like the nose, the hat, the shoes. As you can see here, I just basically created individual materials. They're going to be like ID maps in Substance Painter. And yeah, I also did the UVs. So that's something that I'm not going to show you how to do here, but as you can see, whoops, finger slip. As you can see here, if I select clown, I get the UVs, so that's done. And you're just cut, separate, unfold, lay them out. Sometimes you have to straighten, but that's just the gist of the UVs. And once all of that is done, by the way, everything's named in the outliner, but yeah, we're going to go over here, delete all by type history, and we're going to freeze transformation. So basically, modify, freeze transformations, edit, delete all by type history. And now with everything selected, we're going to go over here to File, Export Selection, and we're going to export .fbx. And I'm going to do this temp export. So now we've exported a .fbx, a film box. And by the way, if you can't, like if you go to File, Export Selection, and FBX export is not here, make sure that you go to the plugin manager under Windows, Settings and Preferences, plugin manager, right? And make sure that it's loaded. So let's scroll down. There it is. Oh, FBX Maya.ml. It's loaded. If you can't find it in the export, make sure you check that on, refresh, and you're good to go. So yeah, so now that we've exported our clown, we're going to jump into Substance. So now that we are in Substance, we're going to go to File, we're going to go to New. I'm going to choose my file here, and we're going to do the, I guess the temp, open. I'm going to choose document resolution of 2048, and everything else is pretty much good to go. So we're going to hit OK. And now we see our clown here, and as you can see, we have, because of the different ID maps, we have each one of these with a visibility icon that we can toggle on and off, which is really cool, very useful. Turn off the head, turn off one glove, turn off the shoe, the sole of the shoe, so you can kind of see the use of color coding all the different things that you want to separate in Substance. So now that we're in Substance Painter, we should go over here to, so I can just delete this for now. I don't really need it. I'm going to go to texture settings over here. I'm going to add some channels, probably ambient occlusion. Now we have ambient occlusion as an extra thing that we're going to create. So these are all different channels that we're going to generate for each of these parts. Base color, height, roughness, metallic, the normal map, which we can add the high poly to, or just use the low poly, and all these other ones like emissive and that kind of stuff. So I'm probably not going to need emissive for this guy, so I'm going to turn that off, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So we're going to go over here to where it says bake mesh maps. Click on that, and I'm going to go to output size, change that to 2K. Here I could load the high poly um, as a normal map, and then I would get that. I also want to make you aware that your anti-aliasing should probably be 4x4, which is 16. So do that, and maybe turn off anything that you don't want. Maybe we don't want the ID anymore. So I'm going to hit bake selected textures. And what Substance is now doing is it's creating, it's baking mesh maps. It's baking in ambient occlusion. It's baking in, all the different maps that we selected. And once that's prepared, we can then create layers, and we can then start to work on painting the clown, texturing the clown. Now, we decided to just work on the low poly version of the clown. I want to keep things low poly because we made this guy look good enough in low poly, and just to align with NJIT standards, learning outcomes, we're going to keep the clown low poly. And I want to just kind of show you guys a couple different things that you can do in Substance Painter to make this guy look good. So I'm going to return to painting mode. We finished baking the mesh maps. So I'm going to return to painting mode, and as you can see here, we're good to go. Now I can go into the layer section here, and I can, I have a couple different things here. I can add an effect, I can add masks, I can add a layer, right? I can add a fill layer, presets, add a group, that kind of thing. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm actually going to add a regular, do a fill layer. And you'll notice you have properties here. You have different ways of filling. Right now, just color is on, but you can turn off color, turn on AOV. We can play with it a little. I don't know if you guys see that on the ball, because it's only the ball layer right now that's selected, right? So I'm affecting that ball layer. So let's say I wanted to do like a 0.77 on that. I could then go on the next one. Maybe delete, create like another fill layer here, maybe create like ambient occlusion for all these, that kind of thing. Now I could just create a regular layer, and we can pick, for example, under the alpha here, I could type dirt, or let's see, paint with like this kind of a brush, paper dirty, and I could choose like the angle of the brush, the spacing, the flow, the size. Yeah, the base colors here. If I click on that, I can change the color. So for example, if I just paint on this guy, you can see we can paint just on the ball. Just on the ball. If I want to paint on the clown's torso, I'm going to have to go over here, bodysuit matte, make sure I select that. I don't really want to paint in the UV editor. I just want to focus on this guy here, and we can By the way, open and close brackets are shortcuts for making the brush bigger or larger. And I can start to paint this guy in 3D. Do all kinds of stuff. So here I'm just showing you like, how, for example, like if I paint the torso, I can paint right behind the ball, not affecting the ball, not affecting anything except for the torso. And that's because we have bodysuit mat loaded. Yeah, you could use masks if you want. You can use smart materials if you want. I like to create layers, different types of layers, and just paint by hand and blend them all together. And this kind of works like Photoshop and some of these other programs. Like you can multiply values, you can overlay different things, and yeah. So I'm going to speed through here and show you kind of what I did to the clown. Um, okay, so let's say we were happy with our paint job and we want to export our textures and import them into Maya. So first things we want to do here is we want to go to File, so we want to go to Export Textures. And over here, we want to choose an output directory. So we're going to go over here. In this particular case, I'm going to go to Maya, Projects, Killer Clown, and I guess I could do images. And I'll select the folder. And actually, what I'll do is I'll make a new folder in here. So I'm going to go in, new folder, substance, textures, click that, select folder. And make sure your output template is set to Arnold. Okay. And this should be fine. So I'm going to go over here and hit export. And now we're going to go into Maya. So now we are back in Maya, and we are going to import all of the different maps that we got from Substance that we created. And as you can see here, if I open my hyper shading in Maya, I have created a Arnold standard surface shader for each of all of the parts that are getting textures. So for example, I went in here, hovered over this area, I hit tab, I type AI standard surface shader, and I basically created, like AI hat, yada yada yada, that kind of thing, right? So I'm going to delete that. That's how I created all of these. And now I have all Arnold standard surface shader materials ready to receive the substance textures. And the reason why we're picking Arnold standard surface shader is because it'll work well with Arnold render later and with the Arnold lights. So just to kind of show you here, now you could go and use the substance plugin, but I just want to show you how to do this by hand because sometimes the plugin doesn't always do things the way you want them. So I need you guys to understand how to do this manually, just in case things don't work, automatically with the plugin. And so, for example, if I go over here to face, okay, under face, I have this material that I created for the face. And now I'm going to go over here to color. I'm going to select this little checkered icon. I'm going to pick file. I'm going to choose file. And we're going to look for head base color. So here it is. Kit Clown Film Box head matte base color. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to click on metalness, add a file. Okay, head matte metalness. Open that. I'm going to go over here to roughness, file, and we're going to add the head matte roughness. Okay. Now, make sure that you go over here to geometry and bump mapping. Click on the checker box, click file. You'll notice here in the hypershade network, you can see the bump, the file. The bump I typically bring down to like a 0.01 for this particular project. And then go to file, import the normal map for the head matte normal. It's fine. And I could also go over here and subsurface. That's subsurface scattering, right? So that's how you get realistic skin. And I'm going to turn this up like so. And I'm going to choose for this color to be something like that. And for this to be something like that. And now we have subsurface scattering. And let me just tone that down a little bit. It's too much. No, we could do that in Substance. I just kind of forgot to do it. But let me see. Yeah. So as you can see here, I can move on to. We can always tweak these things and polish them later on, but for now, I'm just going to import all of the different textures. So just to recap, let me just move this out of the way. We'll go like somewhere here. So just to recap, like if I go over here to like, for example, the bodysuit, I'm going to go and load in everything that I made in Substance one by one. And so I can go to the color of the bodysuit, create a file, I'm going to import the base color, bodysuit base color, open. You can see that in there. Bodysuit metalness, add a file, we'll load it. Bodysuit metalness. And I'm going to go and add bodysuit roughness. Click on the square black and white icon, click file, load my texture map. This is the bodysuit roughness. Okay. You can also go in and add geometry, bump mapping, file. I'm going to turn this down, bump depth to 0.01. You can always adjust that by eye later, but just by default, I'm just going to do that, and then I'm going to load in the normal. So do that. Bodysuit normal. Okay. So you have like the roughness, metalness, and you can see how things are starting to look. And if I were to fast forward this process, basically have something like this.